when you get rid of all the religion, do this, get up, sit down, get rid of all those things, and you, who is God? What did Paul say, about praying in the Spirit, praying over people? We wrestle not against flesh and blood. Well, if we're wrestling not against flesh and blood, I mean, there's something we need to fight and spiritually fight against and for. And so it went from just, I'm a Christian, I go to church, I'm a good person, to no, God has sent us into this world to impact the world. Hi, my name is Godfrey Moye. I'm a youth minister at Lower Manhattan Community Church, and this is my Faithly Story.
Welcome to Faithly Stories, the podcast that brings you inspiring tales from conversations with church leaders as they navigate the peaks and valleys of their faith journeys through their ministry work and everyday life. Join us as we delve into their challenges, moments of encouragement, and answered prayers. The Faithly Stories podcast is brought to you by Faithly, an online community committed to empowering church leaders, pastors, staff, and volunteers. Learn more at faithly.co. Get ready to be uplifted and inspired as we unveil the heart of faith through stories from the front lines of ministry on the Faithly Stories podcast.
Could you tell me how your faith journey started?
Well, journey. I'll be honest, I started very early. My parents brought me to church. I grew up in church essentially my whole life that I can remember. And my best friend to this day is someone I met at the church I was at. I actually, though born in Brooklyn, New York, I was actually raised in Alaska, and I went to a predominantly all-black church in Alaska. I know. And so, I grew up in church my whole life, sang in the kid choir and was a usher, a little child usher. And so that was always part of my life. All I knew was church. And we went to a very, I guess you call religious church. We went to church about 3 days a week. So it was a big part of my life. But when I remember it fully accepting Christ, like when I said, yes, I'm coming forward to take this stand, I was 16, actually. I always wanted to, I always knew I was going to. I think I just remember distinctly making the decision at 16, and feeling there was a complete change in me, as far as how I wanted to be presented, and how I communicate with others.
Was there a moment when you were 16, or were you going through stuff? What at 16?
No, I think, again, I was in church every week, every Sunday night. But I'm in high school at this time. I'm in Virginia at this time now. I'm no longer in Alaska. And I think the pastor, made I went to the traditional church. Let me turn my notifications off. Went to a traditional church where they would make an altar call or whatever. Like, you want to accept Christ today. And I remember just feeling in my gut, this is the time. This is the time. And so I just remember coming up and saying the prayer of faith. And yeah. It's just something I knew I was going to do. I just decided that day, just felt no, this is the time. So
it's funny that you mentioned choir. That I also went to church 3 times a week, sometimes 5 times a week.
Oh yeah.
And I was part of the children's choir. And the funny story about the children's choir is I was the first boy and only boy for a while, because it was all girls and none of the guys wanted to do it. And then my mom kind of forced me. And but looking back, that's how I got into music and to read music. So I was really grateful for that. So for you.
Same. That's actually, I'm so glad you asked, actually. I remember crying because I had my best friend, we were singing, and then the choir director was like, you know what, Godfrey, you're an alto. And this is, I'm 10, 11, 12. I was like, alto? But the girls are the altos. And I remember crying about it. But now I'm so grateful she did that, because I can sing pretty high now still. So yeah, leading worship, and it's something I will forever do.
Yeah, I'm an alto too. They said my voice was too high.
Yeah.
Wait, so what was Alaska like growing up?
Well, winters were cold, but it was great. I grew up, very woodsy area. I grew up there was a dirt road to get to my house. Now I will say, although I did grow go to a predominantly all black church, it was less diverse at school. School was, there's like maybe 3 African Americans and the rest were Caucasian. So that's all I knew growing up. And so, but it was, honestly, I have no bad memories, literally no bad memories of growing up as a kid. It was obviously a different lifestyle. I mean, we would walk, almost a mile to get to the bus, walk down the street. We tried to avoid the dogs on the way, avoid running into a moose, very different. I mean, I saw a moose give birth in my backyard as a kid, so yeah, just a very different childhood, but also, I'd probably say very close to most people who grew up in the suburbs. I'm sure it's not too different, as far as like just having friends in the neighborhood and walking down the street and, playing games with your friends. But yeah, definitely, just the winters were very cold. I mean, it still today, it still gets -20, -30 in the wintertime. So that's, different. And snow was on the ground, like, moving to Virginia, they closed the school when it snowed. And I was like, what? Why are they closing the school? It was normal. So yeah, it's a little different.
So what was your family doing in Alaska?
Military. So my dad married my mother after I was born. So glad he did. So yeah, they're still married today, actually. But we moved to it was through the military that we ended up in Alaska. And actually through the military while we left Alaska, my dad got shipped or stationed in Virginia, right outside DC, so the DC metropolitan area, when I was about 12 years old.
Did you move a lot as a military kid?
No, we only moved. Really, major move was twice. I mean, Alaska, that's the one, and we technically did move in Alaska, different base, but it wasn't nothing in my life changed. Like still went to the same church, things like that. But then again, moving to Virginia, and that was it. That was the only like big move. I know most of my friends I've had, like they moved every 4 years or lived in Germany for some time, but no, we ended up in Alaska for like 11 years. And then, to Virginia. That was it.
Yeah. I had somebody on, she was a wife of a military officer and they moved a lot, but he also got deployed in, I think, Afghanistan during the war and stuff. So she told me a lot about like what faith was like on the base and like how they had to like get like, support each other and like because they don't know what their husband is going to come back and stuff, so it's always scary. So
I can't imagine. I think my dad did leave a lot for trainings, and then 91. I'm older, much older. So 91 Gulf War is when he did go there, but he at that time was not like any like like on the foot ground military guy. He was more doing logistics, so he was back at the bases. In Iraq. But yeah, he was there close to a year, I remember, for the Gulf War.
So from 16, like, how was your progression toward?
I remember, obviously stayed in church, obviously I went to the church wherever my parents went, my mom went. But I'd say not until I moved to LA. So I graduated high school, moved to New York for about a year or so. I got into acting. That's actually how I ended up in New York. And then how I got to LA was the same thing doing acting. And it was that first year, and it was nothing but God. I met a pastor, a man who was about to become pastor. He was starting a church, him and his friend, and met them at a restaurant randomly. And it was through that church where like I'd say love for God grew. Like I was always going to go to church. There was no doubt I was going to stay in church, but through that ministry, I began to like, I'd say my falling in love with God grew to a whole nother level. And I just, grew tremendously. Began to read the word like every day. So a big part of it became like my life. Like it became like, this is what I'm be doing. So,
is the church still there? What's the church called?
No, actually, that's a whole nother conversation. The church did end a couple of years after I left, actually. I left the church, but it was there for 8 years. I helped it start. I was there from it was called City of Praise Christian Church in Los Angeles, California. But it was a very, I'll just say, I grew up, Church of God in Christ, which is Kojic. which is Pentecostal, excuse me. And the pastor was raised in the same denomination, although our church was non-denominational. But we were very, would you say, Pentecostal as far as
Spirit-filled.
Spirit-filled. Yes. Spirit-filled. I'd say overflow was what the church was. I mean, it was a lot. It was like a military service. Like, I kid you not, we would wear fatigues on Sundays because we were felt like we were going to war every Sunday. And service would last, I kid you not, minimum 3 hours every Sunday. And we would just pray and worship, and the pastor, was very prophetic. So he would, pray over people for another hour after service, after he preached. So it was just like that every Sunday. It's like a revival conference every single Sunday. But I loved it. Loved every moment of it. And don't think I would go to a church like that now. But I'm so grateful that I'd say it was my birthing. It was like my foundational, even though, again, raised in church, but that was like my foundation now in my eyes, as far as how I view the Lord and things like that.
Yeah, I have like a charismatic background, so it's fun when you're young because you have a lot of energy. But as I get older, I'm like, it's a little too much now. Let's just relax and be a man of peace. And
yes. I need it every once in a while. Thankfully, we've. I'm sure everyone knows about Bethel. They actually have a service here now in New York, and so I've gone a couple of times. It's like, ooh, felt good to get in that. I haven't been in that atmosphere in a while. But definitely is. Yeah, again, 3 hours every Sunday. That's not plausible right now.
So, what was it about that environment and the pastors that helped you fall in love?
I think it was. We were so. How do I say this? Like, when you get rid of all the religion, right? The do this, get up, sit down. Like, get rid of all those things. And you, like, who is God? What did Paul say, about praying in the Spirit, about praying over people? We wrestle not against flesh and blood. Well, if we're wrestling not against flesh and blood, I mean, there's something we need to fight and spiritually fight against and for. And so it went from just, I'm a Christian, I go to church, I'm a good person, to no, God has sent us into this world to impact the world. One of the I guess mission statements of the church was, to be a city set on a hill that cannot be hid. It's like, no, we're in this world to be a light. And if we, how can you shine unless you spend time in His presence, spend time in the Word, spend time in worship? How can you then be ready to go out to battle, So, it was just a different mindset of, again, more than just, I came to church, I heard a good message, I'm going to be a good person now, It was like, no, like God sent us into this world to impact the world. So
what do you think about, like, what was about that resonated with you was like, oh yeah, that?
You know what? I'll say this. I remember after I accepted Christ, I'm like 16, I'm like 17, 18 now. I'm at a church, the church my parents were going to. And I remember, for instance, I remember the pastor for once, they, I hate to say it, but my culture, but Black churches, they all sound the same. It's like the same rhythm. It was like, okay, it's like, gotta be more than this. Like, and then, but also worship, like, again, I grew up, gospel choir and singing in the choir and singing songs. And in that culture, I'd say it's more, you hear a good sound. It's like, ooh, that girl can sing, And I just remember I needed something different. I just knew I didn't know what I was looking for, but I knew I needed something different. And then that first time in prayer with the pastor, and then when we started singing worship, it opened my eyes, because again, I love to sing. I'm an energetic person. I like to jump around. I like to feel, the song. And we would worship for an hour, just jumping and praising, and like, this is for the Lord, and they talk about, I'm a big Cowboys fan. Please keep watching. I know I'm a Cowboys fan. I know. But when I'm watching the game, I'm jumping. I'm in it, and it's like, how can I not do that for God? So that's what it was. It was just this freedom of worship. This, even the way he preached was just, he was digging into the word. It was going to be, you know, I remember, we were all like in our early 20s, and this like, you know, 60-year-old women were coming by and like, you know, thinking that, oh, this is too deep for these kids. And we're like, what are you talking about? You know, this is what we need. You know, it was like, you know, very theologically sound, and just, again, just more than just a cookie cutter, you know, be a good person, you know? So yeah, so that's what it was challenging. That's the word. Yeah. So it's very challenging. It's like, be better, go deeper. So, you know, that's, I guess it spoke to me, to my personality. And everybody wanted that. Believe me, a lot of people came through. It was like, that's too much. I'm good. And, but for us, for those who were there, we were wired for it.
So were you still acting at this point?
Yes. So, I got to LA, and I was, you know, I was doing decent, you know, I booked a lot of commercials and some working, and I, you know, did little bit TV show spots here and there throughout the time. Again, I'll throw this in as well. Then all of a sudden I really had this strong desire that I knew, at 17, I think I was 17 years old, 16 or 17 years old. The church I was at asked me to speak, do like a youth little 3-minute talk. And I remember giving it. And I remember after I gave that 3-minute talk or 5-minute talk, I was like, oh, I'm going to be doing this for a long time. Like, this is what I want to do. And so I remember calling a friend. It's like, hey, I heard you have a speaking organization. And so I called him, and he was like, cause I want to like start going speaking to schools. Like, I really feel like I'm supposed to do that. And he did. And, so outside of, you know, I was an actor. So all my jobs, I would just do like I was a waiter, classic coffee shop, you know, that's my job. But as far as like pursuing other things, it was the acting and then speaking. I was speaking at schools, group homes, juvenile facilities. So I was doing that, hardcore my years in LA.
Was it tough giving up acting for you?
No. So I was doing both.
No, I mean now. You're not. Are you still an actor?
So, okay, funny story. So when I got to New York, I don't know if, again, following the storyline, but my now wife got into NYU for grad school. She came here, and at first I was like, nah, babe, I'm an actor. I'm in LA. I'm not leaving LA, you know.
That's the end.
That's the end. I need to be in LA. And lo and behold, I got here, and I felt the Lord just like changed. I mean, it was kind of crazy. I got to New York and felt like I'd been on vacation. Felt like I was home. And I was like, wait, what? So anyway, I came here, ended up getting a job at a youth center. And it was at that point, actually, God told me to lay it down. I did lay down the acting for about 3 years. And just, I'd say 2022, 2 years ago, he had me pick it back up. And I felt released to do it. And sure enough, that year, I booked 3 commercials here in the city. I shot one in December of this past year. So yeah, I'm still, slowly getting back into it. So yeah.
That's awesome, because I mean, I love movies. Like, I grew up movies. I watch a lot of media. But I see like God working in Hollywood little by little through a lot of actors coming out, sharing the story of their Christian walk and whatnot. And it's like, well, in my perspective, being more accepting, not that like the studios are accepting it, but like these like big name actors like that are Christian are just voicing their faith. And I'm like, wow, because like people love story, you know what I mean? And people love characters because it like resonates with them. And it's like, because God is a storyteller. So I feel like movie and media is like the next generation of the storytelling of the gospel. And so like, it's amazing that you're going to be part of that.
No, it's funny. I have been feeling it really strongly to like get into like apologetics hardcore. Like, I was in it years ago, but now I've been like really into it, like, different books and videos I've been watching, because I did last year, ended up taking an acting class. And then long story short, I got cast in a showcase. I didn't even want to audition, but the director was like, no, you should really do this. You should really audition. And ended up getting a part in it. And I remember being on, doing the rehearsals and stuff. And, there's, one of the people in the showcase was a, transvestite. Matter of fact, and then the stage manager was a transvestite. And I just remember like really realizing that God really needs me in that space. And to an even more point, there was a young man in my showcase from my class who I ended up sharing something in class about that I'm a youth minister. And he called me. He was like, "Hey, man, I have been looking for a brother to talk with. I'm a Christian as well, man. And I was so grateful to hear you say that." And, so, I was just like, okay, God, like to your point, like God is sending us there and to love on people. Obviously I'll always speak, the truth. But the truth is love at the end of the day. And so, I really have been feeling strong that God wants me in that space to love on people, to, be a living epistle, read of men, so yeah, but if those conversations come up, obviously speak in love and be able to answer their questions.
What advice would you give like younger brothers and sisters who are trying to get into acting as a Christian? Because, in the beginning, you're kind of scared from basically what I've been told from my acting friends. But then like once you get like more popular and you have this leverage of being able to talk and not being afraid of getting canceled, it comes out more. So like, how would you encourage them?
Again, I think it's just leading with love. I think that's just the biggest thing. And then finding your people within, asking the Lord to send you, as they say, advocates, in the industry, like you can talk with and have these conversations with. But also number one too is just stay in your word, study, pray, let God lead you. Especially, things will come your way that maybe I will say this strongly, like maybe, I'm not supposed to take a role, right? But maybe you are, I think I don't ever want to tell someone, "Oh, you can't do that as a man." Obviously there's certain things, let's be very clear. There's certain things that you probably shouldn't do, but let the Lord lead you, as far as, what to do, what to accept and things like that. And not, sometimes we can be so, I think, religious on certain things. But that's not to give room for being too lenient either. There is a standard, but I think to just, stay prayed up, number one.
So how did you get into youth ministry?
Kind of like I said, I saw myself speaking to youth all my life. I don't think I ever really said, "I'm going to be a youth pastor." I don't remember ever saying that, but I just had a very strong desire to talk to youth about the choices they make. I grew up with a, mom and dad, 2-parent home. And so many people have not, and especially the kids I would meet at the juvenile hall or counseling centers, that was not their story. And just realizing that so many young men and women have made choices that they didn't know there was another choice to make. They thought this was the only path. And so I just had a big heart for them and, doing that. So yeah, that led me to speaking at schools, and, I was an abstinent speaker and, from drugs, alcohol, sex, the whole nine, and, for a long time. But then, I started having opportunities to speak at churches and, I remember being one of the assistant leaders, I would say pastor, but assistant leaders at a college ministry in LA. So I started really, growing in that. And then fast forward here in LA, I met a man named Aswan Morris, shout out, at Renaissance Church, or the church my wife had found and had started going to. And he introduced me to Young Life. And so through Young Life, I ended up becoming a youth, kind of one of the youth leaders, or the youth leader, I guess, at Redeemer East Harlem with Pastor Justin. And then from there, I ended up taking on, becoming youth minister through Young Life again at Lower Manhattan, at the church partnership that they were having there. So yeah. So again, it wasn't my ultimate vision, but now, and then I just finished, I went back to school and got a youth minister leadership degree at Eastern University. Just wrapped that up this year. So yeah, I'm just like, yeah, youth pastor, youth minister. That's what I'll be doing.
What's been the hardest challenges of being in youth ministry? Because I've done youth ministry, and I tell people I'll never go back. I loved it. Trust me, I loved it. Yeah. But there's a lot of patience you need to have,
Yeah, you know what? Again, I always tell people, the only thing I can explain it is like, how are you bent? We're all bent a certain way. Like I personally could never work in a convalescent home. I love my grandmother. I love all people, but that's not where my heart is. Nor could I ever work with, 3-year-olds. Love my kids. My son's 3. Could never work with 3-year-olds. But I love middle and high school. Love them to death. I just so passionate about these pivotal this pivotal season of their life. Which again, I talk about choices. Some of the choices they make, they can either derail or propel them in life, what they're going to be doing, what they're not going to be doing. So I have just such a big heart for that, because I see so many people our age, who have made those choices, right? Either for the good or for the bad, that they're still dealing with, so I just don't want them to make those choices. So yeah, I personally can't imagine not doing it. So, especially even now, being able to disciple kids, meet them, been meeting a lot throughout the week, taking them to lunch and just talking with them, and just realizing how important, like, I wish I had this as a kid, I never had anyone come to me and take me to lunch as a kid and give me the word and talk to me about what I'm feeling or going through. I definitely could have used it. So yeah.
Is worship leading something you're still passionate about?
Oh yeah. So actually, Young Life, I've officially no longer work for Young Life anymore, but they have still subcontracted me out to do the music at camps now. So I did 2 camps recently. I'll be doing another summer camp this for a whole month this summer, doing the music and program stuff. So definitely still passionate about it. Thankfully, I have some friends that I've sung on his album a couple of times, so he'll call me up to go do some music with him. He's a Christian rapper, Randy Mason. Shout out, he's amazing. So I still get a chance to do that occasionally.
So what's going on in your life now?
So now it's funny. It was a bit too full when I was still in school, but now that school's done, on Sundays I work at LMCC. Monday, during the week, I go to schools and speak. In fact, today I have a school mentorship program I speak at a school in the Bronx. I go there Tuesdays and Thursdays. But then on Wednesdays, I work with another church called Wellspring. I'm sure you may have heard of them. Wellspring with Pastor Seth. So I'm there Wednesday nights. I'm a co-leader there. I'm not but I'm the co-leader there, which is, perfect. It's great. They have a great group of kids there. So they're every Wednesday night. And then, like I said, Thursdays and Fridays is another school I help and speak at as well. So pretty busy. Got at least a school or a church to speak at throughout the week.
So how'd you meet your wife?
Oh, it was amazing. At the church back in LA, not that church, but after that, I left that church, which is a whole nother conversation. But I believe in that church, joining a church called Hope's House in Northridge, California. I was there, and a couple years into the church, the youth leader over all the youth asked me to start a middle school boys mentorship program. She felt I should start one. I was like, you know what? Yeah. Prayed about it. And she was like, hey, we actually have a girl one already that's been going, and you should meet with, the lady the girl who's running that. So you guys can maybe, team up. I was like, oh, perfect. And that's her. We had our first meeting, and I kid you not, in that meeting, as she was talking, I felt the Lord say, I know this is super religious, but I heard the Lord say, that is your rib. And I felt it. And I was like, and the beautiful thing about that is, God had given me this message. I spoke out of college called The Original Path to Marriage. And in it kind of talked about how God will reveal your wife to you. Won't be, as me, I'm always, looking at a girl like, oh, is that her? Is that her? She like, oh, is that her? But for her, she's beautiful. Let me be very clear. But for some reason, he kind of like just had me not focus on that. It was just who she was. It just spoke to me so strong. And it was the first time it ever happened for me. And so, yeah. So her side of it is really funny because she thought I was somebody else and thought I was married. So she's like, wasn't even thinking to even let her brain go there. But thankfully we cleared that up. That was not me. So yeah, we met at church. And yeah, like I said, she's the one that got me to New York.
So she was interested in you initially too?
No, I think it felt good. I mean, she remembers saying she loved our conversation. She's like, man, this is so natural. This feels so good. But she was like, nope, he's married. I'm not letting myself go there. And amazing part of our story is she was living with her cousin. I'll say her name, Mirta. And then her cousin's husband is Darnell. Well, for the past 3 years, I met Darnell. He's actually was the main worship leader at that church. And when I met him, I felt God say, you need to connect with him. And for 3 years, we prayed once a week together, him and I, for 3 years. Had no idea that, obviously. So she's at the time living with them. And so anyway, when she tells them, like, hey, I met Godfrey. And Mirta, I guess, told her, she's like, oh my gosh, Godfrey is great. Like, we love him. And she was like, she was like, no, he ain't got nobody. So it was great. Like God had it all mapped out.
Yeah. God works it out always. It's just in our mind. She's like, oh no.
Yeah. No, it was just so great. Like she, it's like, no, he ain't that with nobody. So she was like, oh. And so, I called her and asked her to coffee, and we did, and the rest is history.
So how has fatherhood changed you?
Oh man. A lot. I mean, obviously, as you know, it's I'm trying to even put into words. I just, in the back of my brain, I'm always like, am I a good dad? But I just try to love them as much as I can. I don't know. I definitely feel like a different person. The way my thoughts go, before it was just, you think about yourself, obviously. And, obviously when we got married, just thinking about her. But now it's, making sure they're good, making sure that they're taken care of and protected. And I'm kind of a worry wart. So I'm always like, God, are you okay? Did she get hurt? Is she okay? I have a son and a daughter and a son. So yeah, I don't know. I'd say obviously I feel like I've been more responsible, even, I was getting better, but definitely now it's like, trying to be on time, trying to do things the right way, making sure, like picking the kids up from school, things like that. So I don't know. Yeah, I honestly, I don't know if I can put into words how it's changed me. I really don't know. I just know I'm different. Yeah. So
what advice would you give young couples about marriage and, parenthood?
Oof. Just the hardest part, I'm sure most parents, parents would say this, when the kids first come, like we struggled with remembering that, we're more than just roommates. That was the biggest, like, especially having two, and they're 15 months apart. And for us, it was just like really making sure we're connecting, because it really does become focus on the kids. And so that was when you first, get pregnant and baby comes and all the, like, just really have conversations about, hey, checking in with each other. How are you doing? Having those honest conversations. One of the grateful things I love about my wife and I is that we're able to speak honestly, with each other, like how we're feeling. So just making sure like you guys can like communicate even more, with each other. And then one thing we're also learning, because now our kids are talking a lot, is for us to, making sure we, probably communicate about things before getting in front of them, because sometimes I think we'll both have different ideas about something, about the kids, what they're asking. And then the kids are sitting there watching us kind of go decide on something, which is, you can't plan that kind of stuff. But just, again, I think just trying your best to just talk to each other more. And it's difficult because we both work full-time jobs. Again, my job is not full-time. I work multiple different things that I'm running around. But, especially with her job, we don't get a lot of time together, because it's get the kids, go to work, do the work, get the kids fed, put them to bed, and then try to figure out those last couple hours before you fall asleep. So that'd be the number one thing.
What made you fall in love with her?
Oh man. Like I said, that first meeting, I knew I felt something just about who she was. But she is the most loving person I've ever met in my life. Her heart is so big. And I remember taking a strength finder, and if you've ever done that, like, I think that the lowest, I guess, is 34, and empathy was my 34. And so I knew, like, that wasn't me, but it was just her. Like, she is just literally one of just the sweetest person. And the way she cares for people, loves on people, loves me, but just watching her, and just the way she, her attention to details, she's just great. I mean, she's a senior manager now, so attention to detail is part of her her resume. But yeah, she's and she loves the Lord. Obviously, number one, loves God and challenges me. Again, especially on the heart matters. She just, she knows, and she knows how to. From day one, she knew. I felt like she had the codes to my heart, because she knew how to say things. Like I said, she could say anything to me, and she just knew how to say it. That would cause me to just like, oh, okay. So yeah.
And how can we be praying for you and your family?
I think the time, which I'm sure every New Yorker would probably say, just praying that we can maximize our time. I think one of the biggest things is, I think over the last 2 years is, as I said, it wasn't my original plan for vocational ministry. And so now this is our second church vocationally. And so I think just, navigating that, because I get to church and I go to work, we don't go to church to sit together and listen to the word. And, so it's been a very still new thing for her, and for me. So I think just navigating our spiritual walk together, because right now it does feel sometimes a little separate, because even as anyone knows, working in ministry, you don't sit and hear the word a lot, in my role position. So yeah, us finding that time to sit with the Lord, and even us praying together more too. I'd say just pray that we can find places to tap in together, spiritually.
All right. Thanks for coming on the podcast, Godfrey.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah. All right. That's about the podcast, guys. Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to the Faithly Stories podcast. We pray this episode gave you the encouragement you needed to continue on your journey. The Faithly Stories podcast is brought to you by Faithly, an online community committed to empowering church leaders, pastors, staff, and volunteers. The Faithly digital platform offers innovative and practical tools and resources to enhance connection, foster collaboration, and promote growth within the church and ministry space. Remember to subscribe, rate, and review our podcast to help reach more listeners like you. Stay tuned for more uplifting tales from the front lines of ministry on the Faithly podcast. Stay bold, stay faithful, and never underestimate the power of your own story.